like most of our songs, and it comes from Cumberland in the Eastern Cape, where my father came from. In the olden days, the young Xhosa maidens often sang this song in praise of the young Xhosa braves as they would get ready to go out into battle. In other words, it's a song of encouragement. We call it Choriko. Choriko, Chola, Achamile, Amatocha. Choriko, Chola, Achamile, Amatot. What's it, Choriko? Chintan and Choriko. Oh, Choriko. Oh, yes, it's Choriko. Chintan and Choriko. Oh, Choriko, Chola, Achamile, Amatot. Choriko, Chola, Achamile, Amatot. I said, Choriko, Chintan and Choriko. Oh, Choriko. Oh, yes, it's Choriko. Chintan and Choriko. Oh, Choriko. Good morning. Good morning. I've been waiting for the grass cutting outside to stop so that I can have this conversation without the external noise. I'm not going to be long. I'm not going to be long. I'm just going to share a little bit because I read a post about mental illness and a reaction to someone who's very popular. I'm not going to mention name because I don't want this to be a celebrity type of conversation. But I am very familiar with mental illnesses from the background of being in a family where a mental illness is prevalent. And by saying that, I mean having a parent who has a mental illness. And I am watching this spurt with regards to separated parents and how the kids are kind of caught in between, which is very common in situations of divorce or in situations of separation. So it's usually not that is new. But what I wanted to highlight though, because these conversations are for men, in support, and this is not made or created to bash men in any way. This is in support. I just want to check if my video is on. All right. In support, please let me know if my video is on. It seems like it's off. I'm not sure. Let me just quickly check something. All right. It looks like it's okay. So let's continue. So I am aware that, especially I'm not talking in the context of South Africa, that more and more men are diagnosed with mental illnesses. And in my space, because I work in the African-centered side of approach in terms of human development and working with teams and then working with families. This is something or a topic that I really wanted to focus more this year with regards to young adults men, because that's the ones that I work with the most, and also the ones where I see these mental illnesses at their peak because of just the nature of where we're coming from with the pandemic, unemployment in the country, and just continual despondency with regards to the way things are in the country. So more and more men are being fully diagnosed with a mental illness. So I'm not going to talk about people who are stressed, depressed, and not diagnosed as yet. We're going to focus more on those who have been diagnosed, and I'm going to mention two popular ones in terms of my space would be bipolar and schizophrenia. and just a little bit in terms of how these play out in the family unit. I'm not comfortable with my video. It doesn't look like it's showing. Doesn't look like it's showing. Can I restart this? Let me just restart this. It doesn't look like it's showing. Oh, it's fine now. So it's fine now. All right. So bipolar and schizophrenia. For a person to be to be labeled or to given or be told that they have bipolar or schizophrenia, they need to be diagnosed by a medical practitioner. No? Because I see this quite a lot on social media where people get shown words when in arguments. They say, "Oh, no, bipolar, and yet these are serious mental illnesses that a lot of people are battling with. Um, when my dad had a mental breakdown, let me start from that point. When my dad had a mental breakdown, I think it was around 15, not 20 years ago, when he had a mental breakdown, we watched him go through different cycles and different spaces and different personas and different things before he was fully diagnosed with the mental illness. And then he was in a psychiatric hospital for plus minus 3 months, and then he was released. And then through that at that time, he had to went through different journeys with him in that space. One of the difficult things on my dad's side was that he also loved alcohol, which is very, very common with a lot of men in our country. He loved alcohol. And our family doctor mentioned to me when I took my dad to see a GP after the full diagnosis and stuff, mentioned that it's going to be difficult for my dad to be on medication because he still drinks quite a lot. Medication and alcohol, those two would be a terrible clash on his side. So it was like, no, I can't make that decision as yet. And then what I did, and then I moved to Cape Town. When I got to Cape Town, I got to attend mental illnesses support groups. I learned more about the different mental illnesses. I wanted to understand what was happening. I wanted to understand what was going on. I needed to know how to support it as well. And also my dad was also getting into that manipulative stage where he was aware that if he says that he's sick, I was going to literally leave Cape Town, get into a bus and rush home and take him to hospital. But I then realized that it was happening more often. And then I had to make a decision to manage that side of the cycle. Oh my goodness! I don't know if you can hear the noise from the grass cutting. Let me see if I can close the windows. Let me see if I can close the windows. Okay, I'm hoping the noise is better. Let me just come closer to the mic. So mental illnesses have episodes. Episodes are what happens when the mind no longer know how to regulate or manage itself. Episodes takes different forms in different individuals, and episodes are triggered by different things in different individuals. When we were attending the support forum, because I was going with my best friend, we learned that sometimes it's even difficult to prescribe a particular type of medication. A patient has to go through different types until the one with the proper strain is fits their particular patient. So episodes take on different personas, and episodes take on different things. Some individuals can be violent during an episode. Some
individuals can be verbally abusive during an episode. Some individuals can literally shut down completely and not want to have people around them. Some individuals can be self-destructive in terms of how they respond to a particular trigger that will then set them off into an episode. The other thing that happens quite a lot in both bipolar and schizophrenia, because these are the ones that I'm most familiar with, is that, okay, let me make an example with my dad. One of the episodes when he was newly diagnosed was he was stuck in a particular phase in his life, a phase before he had a mental breakdown. He was stuck in that particular phase. He would get up, take a diary, dress in his graduate gown, and go to town wearing it. I remember I was working in Butterworth, at a medic clinic in Butterworth, and my dad would come visit me at work, and he would be wearing a robe, and the robes that you guys wear when you're graduating. And he would wear, he didn't have that sash, so that made things easy. So he would wear my mom's pink gown underneath, pink gown and his pants. So pants and a pink gown, and that robe, that graduate robe on top, and then he would carry a diary like he used to when he was working at Paternal, and he would come visit me at work. That was about 15, 20 years ago. And he would come visit me at work, and my mom also used to have these old goggles that are big like this. So he would wear that and come visit me at work. And he would, because I used to work in a reception area at a medical clinic, he would come and just walk in the door and come and see me. My dad is very loud and colorful and huggy and kissy and touchy. He loves hugging and touching your hands and kissing your cheeks. That's my dad. So he would come, he would greet me. So what I would do is I would welcome him in any episode that he comes in, because at that stage I didn't really understand what was happening, but I knew that he was my dad, and that was enough. So we would sit outside, and people would look at us funny because of this person who's well dressed, because I'm at work, and my dad is dressed in this weird way. And we would sit down on the floor. I would sit on the floor with him, and we would have a conversation. No matter what was happening in that conversation, it was never something that was straight. It would be a conversation based on a particular frame or particular time in his life where he was stuck in, and I would entertain that space until he would then kiss and hug me again and go home. And one of the things that I chose to do is not to try and change it or force him out of that episode, because then that was going to have other things. So I'm sharing this so that you don't think that I'm trying to shame men who have been diagnosed with mental illnesses. I just want to say I do understand it, but it doesn't take away the strain from your family, though. It doesn't take it away. What makes it difficult in the mental illness is that most of the time men refuse medication. That's what makes it difficult. Men refuse medication, and yet medication is the one thing that's going to help you to manage yourself better. You refuse medication. Besides refusing medication, you also refuse to change your lifestyle. Remember, once you've been fully diagnosed, it doesn't mean that it's going to go away. It's unlike flu, where you get flu and then after 2 weeks it's done and you can go back to yourself. It doesn't work that way. You've had a chemical breakdown, a chemical imbalance in your brain. It needs to then be managed on a day-to-day type of basis. So I guess this is me saying, I'm highlighting the need for men to know or to make an effort to manage your lives a little bit differently in support of the people and the partners around you that are trying to be there for you. When you go into an episode, that's okay, because you have no control over it per se. And also the people around you kind of sometimes get into an awareness that this is an episode. But then the episodes are like this most. You go up, you go down, and then there's a plateau where everything is flat and everything is normal until the next trigger comes along. What I'm asking gentlemen to do when things are at this space, please remember that your family, when you are going through an episode, they were there. They were there in that episode with you at its peak, and they were there with all the emotions, also trying to support us, trying to be there for you. So when things are here, be the support that they need. Try and make things easy for them to support you in the next time that a trigger comes along. Because what tends to happen is that with men, when you are in this space, you tend to then allow ego to take over, where you start boozing left, right, and center, and you make life difficult for people around you. And also, I know mostly for bipolar, people say a lot of hurtful things, especially to the partner that supports you the most, or to the individual that supports you the most. You say a lot of things that are very hurtful because you have no control over what you say and what's happening in your mind. There's no control. So you say a lot of things, which then requires, when you are here, to be the support, to provide your caregiver with the support that they need, so that when you go through another trigger and another peak, they're able to sustain themselves and also support you at the same time. Mental illnesses are our reality. They are nothing new. The difference is that they are much more common now than before, based on the ills that we have in our society. They are not new. Also, they are not a death sentence. It doesn't mean that your life is completely over. You can still function, you can still have your family, you can still have a job, you can still study and be actively involved, but you have to manage your lifestyle in a proper way, in a particular way, so that you're able to carry on your life in a particular way. I'm hoping this makes sense, and I'm hoping that this conversation is speaking to someone, and I'm hoping that I'm going to do more of these conversations. For me, with regards to the bipolars and the schizophrenia, this is the first segment that I'm going to do. Initially, my ideal was to talk to teenagers in terms of how to then manage themselves when their parents are going through an episode. But I don't have teenagers in these platforms, so I'm going to see where I can create that space for teens. But as for parents, please remember, if you have kids and you have mental illnesses, watch when you go through a peak and an episode, the kids will go there with you. When you are here, be there to debrief with your kids, be there to support them, and they will be okay. Eventually, we as kids, because I'm a child of a parent who has a mental illness, we get to a stage where we understand that mental illness, and we're able to tell the difference between my dad when he's okay and my dad when he's in an episode peak. Also, for people that have been diagnosed, learn to observe your triggers. Observe the triggers. Sometimes the triggers are seasonal. Sometimes the triggers um, I don't know, English just went out, accent related. Sometimes the triggers are events related as well. So learn to observe your triggers, so that when the trigger, or if it's seasonal, you're able to then go down or draw out your support, so that they can carry you throughout that peak and throughout that episode until things go down again. The nice thing about bipolar mental illnesses is that they go through. You don't stay up all the time, they go through. But medication helps you to regulate things properly. You have to start medicating until they get you the type of strength that's fit for you. But more than anything else, if you feel like you have to drink alcohol and on medication, it's not advised by medical practitioners, but have support around you. If you feel like you have to, have the right support around you, be in a safe environment, and then allow that support to carry you through until you're able to get rid of the alcohol in the system in a particular way. I'm hoping this conversation helps. I have to start my day. Have a wonderful day. I'm gonna talk more about this, and I think I was not triggered, but I was reminded by the story of this popular rap artist and how much drama he's giving his ex-wife. And I think in the next episodes, I'm going to talk about the obsessive and manipulative behavior that sometimes partner up with mental illnesses, more so when people have taken themselves off medication, because sometimes people take themselves off medication and often they are not aware what then happens in between. By trauma is serious. But thank you so much for listening. Please have a wonderful day.